Hello, everyone. Welcome to Istanbul FinTech Istanbul's webinar. Good morning from Istanbul. Good evening to Hong Kong. My name is Selim Yazıcı. I'm a professor at Istanbul University and also the co-founder of FinTech Istanbul. And I will be your host today. But before I start, I would like to give the floor to Neşe, our presenter from Invest HK, for her introductions. Neşe.
Thank you very much, Professor Selim Yazıcı. Good morning, dear guests, and good afternoon to our panelists from Hong Kong. Welcome to our webinar today, where we will discuss the opportunities offered by the Hong Kong FinTech ecosystem to the Turkish FinTech community. Let me shortly introduce myself. I am Neşe Seçer, the Turkey representative of Invest Hong Kong. Being based in Istanbul, we assist Turkish companies to set up and grow in Hong Kong. And I would like to take this opportunity to provide you a short brief about the current Turkish investment in Hong Kong. There are around 70 Turkish companies already active in Hong Kong. They are mainly in the field of logistics, air cargo, mining, consumer goods, food and beverage, electronics, jewelry, and similar. To name a few, Turkish Cargo, Etimaden, WeWorld Express, Pacific Access, and recently Dantatsu Creative Agency are some of the prominent investors in Hong Kong. From the banking side, there are two Turkish banks, namely İşbank and Garanti Bank, which are active in mainland China. But for Hong Kong, we don't have yet any Turkish financial institution investment. And given the strong nature and significant know-how accumulated at this site in the Turkish banking side, we believe there are many opportunities for Turkish fintechs to consider in Hong Kong. And we hope this webinar today is actually an excellent opportunity for you to understand about the Hong Kong ecosystem. Following this short introduction, let me introduce the panelists. In today's 1 hour long webinar, our moderator is Professor Selim Yazıcı, who is the co-founder of FinTech Istanbul. And our speakers from Hong Kong are Mr. King Leung, who is the head of FinTech at Invest Hong Kong, Mr. Chi Wai Chung, who is the manager at the FinTech Facilitation Office at the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Mr. Rico Tang, who is senior manager at the FinTech cluster at Cyberport, Mr. Deniz Güven, who is the CEO of Mox Bank, and Mr. Bernard Ng, who is the senior manager at FinTechs at the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. So welcome to all our speakers from Hong Kong. I'm very excited about our webinar today and would like to leave the floor to King Leung to give us further information about the fintechs in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neşe. It's a great pleasure to speak with all of you. Again, thanks to Professor for having us. Now, first of all, when we have the privilege in looking at our activities around the world, now, first of all, we do see a lot of innovation of fintech literally around the globe. Now, at the same time, we also spend quite a lot of time to try and understand the needs of the corporate partners. So someone like Dennis' firm, which is like a poster child for us in terms of the banking innovation. But at the same time, we also reach out to the so-called traditional, the banks, the insurance companies, securities firms, and so forth. And the one thing that we found pretty amazing after we have done this, I would say, informal study, is that when we look at Hong Kong, so for those of you who have the chance to travel to Hong Kong, you would notice that it's a city that's a very multinational environment. So we have executives like Dennis, who really come from a very rich international background. And because of that, I think exposure from the leadership across the financial sector. So naturally, when the banks and the insurance guys decide to partner with the fintech firms, sometimes they would actually go far beyond our neighbors, right? So it's not just about the providers from Hong Kong or from China or from the nearby countries like Singapore. Actually, we go quite far. In fact, I won't name names, but then we just have been just tracking that there are some pretty interesting fintech firms from Eastern Europe, from Israel, and other parts of Europe that have been serving our financial institutions in Hong Kong. Now, as a result, there are some further programs that we're trying to even attract more companies from around the world that can bring their financial technology innovation to Hong Kong. So namely, for the program that Invest Hong Kong is responsible for, is called Fast Track Program. It's a global program that we will literally go around the world and invite the fintech firms that will be interested to talk to the corporates, again, the banks and so forth. And through this program that will start in June, in which let's say would be working with the community to spread the word. And by then, as you apply to the program, we're able to, in a way, match you with the corresponding financial institution. So this is a way to fast track your ability to gain traction with the local FIs. Now, so I can go on and on, but in the interest of time, I guess I will just pause here, and I'll just leave the floor back to Professor, and then there'll be some amazing sharing from our great Hong Kong partners. So off to you, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. King Leung. Neşe, any words from you?
Thank you very much. You're welcome to start, and I'll be happy to follow with our audience after the event.
Thank you, Neşe. As Neşe mentioned, today I have very distinguished speakers from Hong Kong ecosystem. Today we'll be discovering Hong Kong's fintech ecosystem with the help of my guests from Hong Kong to create an insight for Turkish fintech companies for their potential destination to make an investment in Hong Kong. Today we'll talk about the key ingredients of an ecosystem like regulations, governmental policies, startups, accelerator programs, and also building a virtual bank, which we are very curious about in Hong Kong. So both of the topics are very interesting for me, I think also for our listeners as well. Since we have limited time, I would like to make a very short introduction of my guests and say welcome to them. Since Mr. Wilson Park had an urgent engagement, we have Mr. Chi Wai Chung on behalf of Mr. Park with us. He's from Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Hello, Mr. Chung.
Hello, Professor.
I'll start one by one and go on with the other speakers. So, Mr. Chung, we all know that it's very hard to understand the regulations and comply with them, especially when you try to make an investment away from your home country. So I'd like to talk about fintech-related policies and initiatives in Hong Kong Monetary Authority. I mean, what are the opportunities and challenges for Turkish entrepreneurs in terms of regulatory framework or licensing?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Maybe it's actually a bit of questions, and maybe I will try to frame it into a few things. Before that, can I have like 1-2 minutes just to introduce myself and my work so that you get to know what I'm working on?
Please.
So my name is Chi Wai from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. I'm actually from the FinTech Facilitation Office, which is a division inside the HKMA. We all used to say this, in short, we call it FFO, FinTech Facilitation Office. We call it a startup, actually, within the HKMA. The reason is it actually is just like 4 years old, a baby from the Hong Kong MA. It was established in 2016. And I joined the team around 2017. When it was set up, actually, we have no idea what we should do because fintech at that time is actually a new work to everyone, not only in Hong Kong, maybe in the world as well. So we were struggling what we should do. And basically, we framed 4 main functions, what we should be actually working on in order to develop Hong Kong into one of the global leading fintech city in the world. So the first functions that we think which could be important to define Hong Kong into this fintech hub world is we want to conduct some kind of like industry research. In particular, there are a lot of hot topics, right? like CBDC, which is the central bank digital currency. When we hear a lot of banking pain point, like the trade finance one, so we were trying to develop some platform for to resolving the trade finance issues. We also hear a lot on fintechs. At the same time, we hear about a lot on the cybersecurity as well, because as we have a lot of like digital platforms, cybersecurity becomes one of the concerns. So we also set up some framework on cybersecurity, where we call it the Cybersecurity Fortification Initiative. It is actually the first initiative that we launched around 2017. To guard against any criminal acts against any digital platforms. So this is the core research mandate that we were doing for the fintech in Hong Kong. The second thing that we want to do to maintain Hong Kong's fintech role is we have been trying to work on a lot of innovation fintech initiative in Hong Kong and also across other country in terms of outreaching. For example, we have Invest Hong Kong inviting us, the Hong Kong MA, to have the FinTech Week every year. That's one of our annual key events every year. And we actively participate. We try to deliver a lot of fintech initiative in Hong Kong for the announcement within that week. And also, as I mentioned, we join other jurisdictions event as well. That's why we are here actually with the Istanbul FinTech event. So another core function that the FFO is working on is it's about to interface between the banking industry and also the Hong Kong MA other supervision department, because traditionally everyone's mindset is on the regulator is they are very difficult to approach actually. So we want to play a different role within the HKMA to bridge the supervision department and the other ecosystem stakeholder for the fintech. So that's our main role that we're trying to play as well. The last function that we want to emphasize is about talent development, because talent is another important aspect how to grow fintech in one city. So we have been trying to nurture talent in Hong Kong. Every year we have been running programs with universities and the banking industry to hire more than 100 of students for internship. Some within Hong Kong and some outside Hong Kong, but due to COVID-19, this year's headcount to other countries has been frozen, unfortunately. But for the past few years, we have been on and off doing that. So that's the basic roles that we're working on in playing Hong Kong as a fintech hub in the world. In terms of another questions from Professor, if I have another 1 to 2 minutes, if you don't mind. Sure. In terms of the regulatory support, we actually have been very supportive on innovation idea. Since 2007, we have the 7 Smart Banking Initiative. A few of them promotion of virtual banks, for example, the promotion of open API, for example. And also, we have promote a very important idea for a lot of startups company, which is the FinTech Supervisory Sandbox. Okay, it was actually launched 2016. The sandbox allows banks with their partnering technology firms to conduct pilot trial of their solutions without a full compliance of every regulations or requirement from the HKMA, to allow them to have a fast trial to make sure that works according to what we need. Okay, if that works, that's perfect. If it fails, please fail fast. That's our idea. Okay, and so, but we also hear the comment at that time that that sandbox that require a bank to partner with a startup, and a lot of startups it's trying to tell us that it's a bit difficult for them to partner with banks because banks, they have hundreds of startups to approach them, so they may not want to entertain all the startups. So we actually have enhanced our sandbox to allow startups to approach us directly without partnering a bank. We call it Sandbox 2.0. Okay, so now that's actually effective in place for the past few years. I think since maybe 2017, 2018, we have already upgraded to allow more startups to approach us. So in terms of figures, actually, I think up to last year December, we have received more than 500 cases for this Sandbox 2.0 accumulatively. So we are looking forward to have more of these sandbox, the usage of this sandbox in the future. No matter it's from Hong Kong or from overseas, we are all welcome because we are all connected using this kind of like video conference. So, Professor, I think I hope I have answered your questions.
Sure. I was very interested with the regulatory sandboxes for the last few years. I know that Hong Kong is one of the strongest in the Asia Pacific. So good to hear your insights from the sandbox. And you have mentioned Sandbox 2.0. So that was a good. Yes, please.
Yes, you're right. This is Sandbox 2.0.
Okay, that was very good to hear. I'm going to ask the same question to all my panelists. Are there any challenges for Turkish companies when they are going to make an investment in Hong Kong? In your opinion, as a regulatory insight, Mr. Yes.
I think that based on the experience of Cyberport, and if we look at our community members, and 1/3 of them are coming from overseas. So we have companies which are coming from US, UK, Australia, this world. So we don't see there's a hurdle for company from Turkey to come to Hong Kong to do business. Hong Kong is what we call I would say a very friendly city, and you can easily do business with your stakeholders. From the frontier, this core, to the regulator and also financial institutions, they're all very open, to work with you guys.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll give the next words to Mr. Bernard from Hong Kong Science and Technology Park Corporation. Mr. Bernard, I would like to talk about Hong Kong Science and Technology Park's innovation strategy, and especially on FinTech and the related programs and also the initiatives that you have created.
Okay, thank you, Professor, and thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be joined by all the panelists here to connect with the Turkish community and then really to bring out the best of Hong Kong to you guys. Now, maybe I'll also spend 1 minute to introduce myself and my organization. So I'm Bernard from the FinTech cluster of the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. Now, the HKSTP, Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, is actually the largest incubator in Hong Kong. So just to give you a couple of facts and background. So we are a non-profit body, and we have more than 1,000 technology companies in the park. And in terms of number of people working in the park, we have more than 14,000 people working in the park. And then more than half of them are really R&D researchers. So we have a very strong culture of research and development. And we are also the most diversified startup hub in Asia. And by that, what I mean is not only do we focus on FinTech, we actually do focus on many other areas where there's a lot of innovation. For example, AI and robotics, green tech, biotech, smart city, electronics. So the way we really look at innovations is we help people connect. The more dots that we can connect, the more innovations we can create. So all in all, the Science Park is actually tasked to build and foster innovation and technology in Hong Kong. Okay, so that is a very quick summary of myself and also our organization. And to get back to you, Professor, on your question about our innovation strategy. So I would try to summarize it in 2 words, and then I'll elaborate it a bit more. So the 2 words is co-creation and also GBA, meaning Greater Bay Area. So those are 2 of our main focuses. And then in terms of strategy, so I'll start by talking about co-creation. So especially in the fintech and financial world. So what we have observed in the banking and financial industry is obviously there's a lot of established players, right? Big banks, big insurance companies, asset managers. So they are all looking at innovation to drive their growth. So these players are all very well capitalized, experienced, and they have a very large client base. However, research shows that the larger you get, the more barriers there are in terms of innovation. So this is like the law of nature, okay? The larger you get, the less agile you become, okay? But on the other hand, when we look at fintech startups, they are very agile, right? They are run by very passionate founders. They're very innovative. So the science part, we see an opportunity to really bring together the best of both worlds. So, okay, the established players with experience, with strong financial backing, and the startups with agility, innovation. And by bringing both sides together, they can co-create and really innovate. All right. So that is our one of our main strategies, which is co-creation. And to support this strategy, I'd like to also introduce to the audience a key flagship program that is actually happening, that the Turkish FinTech community can actually join, okay? And that is what we call GAA, the Global Acceleration Academy. So it is a 6-month accelerator program. We actually started the program in January. So in the first phase of the program, what the Science Park really worked very hard to do is we line up the existing big established players in the financial world. So the big banks in Hong Kong, the insurance company, etc. And then by working with them, we look at how they innovate, the innovation strategy, the problem statements, the pain points. So what do they want to do? Okay, so we have collected all that information. And now at this stage of the program, which is the 3rd month of the program, what we are trying to do now is to bring those problem statements, those needs from the established player back to the Science Park. And we look at our FinTech community, our startups, and see whether there are solutions that can help with those problems. And then when we match them up, there's an opportunity to co-create. So to support our main, one of our main strategies, to really co-create and innovate. So it is really an opportune time for me to share this information with the Turkish community. So what I'm going to do after this panel is I'm going to share some more information with the professor about how to enroll to the program, etc. And I wanted to just stress the timeline a bit, because the application is actually going to close in a couple of days. Now, the program is a worldwide program, so you can join from anywhere in the world. It's a virtual program. It's a virtual accelerator. So if anyone from the audience, the FinTech community in Turkey, if you feel that you want to showcase your solution to Asia, to Hong Kong, I would definitely encourage you to take a look at the program and reach out to us, to me, if you want to talk to someone, and see whether we can start our collaboration using this program. All right. Now, I'm going to also talk about the other keyword, which is GBA. Okay. GBA is a very important strategy, not only for Science Park, it is a strategy for Hong Kong and for China. Now, GBA means the Greater Bay Area. And the Greater Bay Area comprises of 9 cities plus 2 special administrative regions, namely Macau and Hong Kong. So just to give you an idea about the Greater Bay Area. So the population of the Greater Bay Area is actually more than twice of Canada. So it's a very large area, okay? And it's comprised of a large population of middle class, okay? So there's a lot of buying power. And there's also 2 very important hubs within the Greater Bay Area. The first one is Shenzhen. Okay, Shenzhen is the tech hub. It's like the Silicon Valley in China. So it's home to a lot of household names, big techs, Tencent, DJI, Huawei. They all come from Shenzhen. Okay, and it's within the Greater Bay Area. And also Hong Kong is one of the top 3 financial centers in the world. We're actually adjacent to each other. So the Greater Bay Area really gives people, companies, startups, fintechs, access to a very vast business opportunity. And Science Park, what we want to do is we really want to act as a partner or a launchpad for overseas companies who are looking at expanding their business and exploring the Greater Bay Area. So this is another area that we, besides co-creation, that we really want to help. Okay, and in terms of, so this is a strategy, a vision, and in terms of actual initiative that we are working on to support this Greater Bay Area initiative. Now, I'm going to give you a preview first because we are still working very hard on the details of the program. So again, when we have more details in a couple of months, I'm going to share with the professor so we can actually circulate to the whole fintech population in Turkey. But to just give you a preview of what we are working on, the program is going to be called InnoExpress. Okay, and the idea is really we want to create a very intensive program. It's going to be a 10-day program where we would invite overseas company to actually come to Hong Kong. Okay, and in the program, so it's going to, the program is going to, we aim to begin the program towards the end of this year. Hopefully COVID is going to be largely behind us by that time and we can resume traveling and seeing each other face to face, right? So going back to the program, it's going to be a 10-day program. It's very intensive. We aim to bring the companies, maybe some companies from Turkey, to explore Hong Kong, to have a taste of what the Hong Kong ecosystem is like, to meet with the fintech sector, the financial sector in Hong Kong. And also very importantly, definitely, it's a GBA program. Part of the program is we're going to go with those companies, the overseas company, to actually explore GBA together. So some of the main things that we are going to include in the program is definitely sessions that are going to cover, for example, taxation. So some of the main issues when you're thinking about setting up in Hong Kong or in Greater Bay Area. Government grants and support, fundraising, talent recruitment, go-to-market strategies, policies, etc. So in this 10-day, very short but very intensive program, we really want to bring the overseas company up to speed in terms of understanding the Hong Kong and the GBA market. All right, so those would be my sharing today, and I'll definitely share further information with the professor, and I hope I'll be able to see the audience face to face in the short future, although I cannot see the audience now from webinar. So,
okay, thank you for this insightful thoughts. I had some notes as you were speaking. You were mentioning the co-creation, and there's a program which was virtual. So was that all virtual or because of COVID?
We actually wanted to do a hybrid mode program, but then because of the COVID situation, we decided that a virtual program is more suitable for this duration of time.
Okay, yeah. Because it takes I think 6 months. It's a 6 month program. Yeah, okay.
6 months. Yeah.
Then the next program was the 10-day program.
Yeah, that is the InnoExpress program, and it's geared really towards the Greater Bay Area. And that program we are going to run in hybrid mode, so virtual plus physical. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bernard, for your speech. Next, I'm going to have Rico Tang from Cyberport. Cyberport is the fintech hub of Asia. Am I right, Tang?
Yep.
So you're standing right in the middle of the ecosystem, I guess. I would like to share your ideas about how Cyberport empowers fintech startups, or how you help foreign companies to soft landing into Hong Kong.
Yep. Thank you, Professor. I think before I start, I would like to give a brief introduction about Cyberport. As you may not know Cyberport, Cyberport was founded in year 2003, and we are also a non-profit making entity. Our mission is very clear. We want to be the digital technology hub, and trying to help the old economy to transform into the new economy by enabling them with the technologies. And it has been 17 years. And right now, we have over 1,600 community members. And 1/3 of them are coming from overseas, as I mentioned. And according to the report published by Invest Hong Kong, and there are 600 fintech companies in Hong Kong, and 400 companies are with Cyberport. So we have been working closely with our partners and to drive the development and also the adoption of the fintech across Hong Kong financial industry. And to go back to your question about how can we enable the fintech startups in Hong Kong, and we have to go back to very simple needs. And there are 3 very important keys for the fintech startup from early stage to the late stage: capital, talent, and market. Let's talk about capital. For start, we all need to address the issue of fundraising. And Cyberport has, I would say, set up a Cyberport Investor Network. This is a platform to engage the investors and trying to work closely with the startup who need funding at the very early stage. And we are well connected in Hong Kong, and since we are the one who has been driving the fintechs. And apart from that, we understand that not only the early stage in the seed round and also angel round are important for fintech, but also the PA round and also A round. So Cyberport has formed our own Cyberport Macro Fund, which is what we call a co-investment fund, and trying to work with investors to support potential company and from PA round to A round. But recently, we have decided to extend it to B round, and with which is under the latest government policy announced by Hong Kong government. So we are happy to continue to support companies from Turkey. And on an annual basis, we work closely with Invest Hong Kong, and throughout the Hong Kong FinTech Week, we also have what we call the Cyberport Venture Capitalist Forum, which is a very important event. We connected investors not only in Hong Kong, but also outside Hong Kong to come to Hong Kong to look for opportunities. So that 2 days event help, I would say, fintech companies to do what we call investment matching. And you can get all details from our LinkedIn when you go to Cyberport. And now let's talk about market. We all understand that as a fintech company, not only you need capital, you also need to have an opportunity to sell your products. Cyberport set up our enterprise network. Our members are not only the financial enterprise, but also non-financial enterprise. They work closely with us to try to explore and also adopt technologies developed by startup in our ecosystems, because they know that this is a mutual benefits. And apart from that, we're also working closely with the industry association, including the Hong Kong Institute of Bankers, the Hong Kong Securities and Investments Institute, and also the CIMA, ACCA. They are all the key stakeholders of the Hong Kong FinTech ecosystems. We, on a regular basis, we organize a speaker series. And under the COVID situation, we changed from the physical matching to virtual matching. So since last September, we kickstart the first virtual RegTech demo day, and we showcase 4 RegTech start their solutions through the partners, and so that they engage them, they understand how RegTech can, I would say speed up their transformation and also help to improve their operational efficiency. And on this last Monday and Tuesday, we have organized a Wealth Tech demo day with the Hong Kong Securities and Investment Institute, and also the Hong Kong Chinese Financial Association. Their members are coming from Chinese banks, Chinese securities house, and also to other firms. So they are the one who are going to help us to drive the adoption of the fintech. And in that 2 days Wealth Tech demo day, we handpicked 7 companies, and they are from what we call the AI solutions to streamline the entire IPO listing documents validations, and to AI-driven what we call trade idea platform, all the way to next generation back office to facilitate the the securities firm, they would like to expand to overseas, but they do not want to invest heavily into hardware. So the new solutions we demonstrated on last Monday and Tuesday, also supporting one very important scheme under the Hong Kong government. As you may or you may not know that Hong Kong government are the key supporter of the adoption of the FinTech. And the Hong Kong Financial Service and the Treasury Bureau set aside 10 million Hong Kong to support POC project. And Cyberport has been appointed as the administrator for that program. So that means if a FinTech company, they are talking to a financial institutions, and if there's any need, the holder could be the financial support, the government is set aside 10 million to support that kind of POC project, which are important for us to turn an early stage technology into a product, so that they are able to accelerate the entire adoption. And the program has kickstarted on 26th of February. So we have received a lot of inquiry and also registration. And we also work closely with our partner, the Hong Kong STP. So their FinTech startup also are able to join the program, to work closely with us. So this is what we call the 3 areas. We assist the FinTech company to access the market. Let me recap. The Cyberport Enterprise Network and the partnership we built with all the financial associations from banks, from securities, and also from insurance. We also are the administrator of the FinTech Proof of Concept subsidy schemes, which is a big budget set aside by government, 10 million Hong Kong, to support over 100 projects. Now let's move on to talent. We all know that all the startups they are trying to develop AI, machine learning, blockchain, and how do they get all this talent? And Cyberport has set up a Cyberport Academy, and we work closely with universities such as Hong Kong University, the Hong Kong Chinese University, and also the what we call the Hong Kong UST. So we run different programs to educate the students, and also not only them, but also the industry practitioners. And the purpose is very simple. We try to educate the market how important is the FinTech, and also empower them with the latest knowledge. We partner with R3, and so that students can understand a bit more about the blockchain technologies, what we call the R3. And this is the way we believe that talent is quite important for the FinTech company from Turkey. When they come to Hong Kong, don't worry about it. Both Science Park and also Cyberport are here to serve you, to help you to find the right people at the right time. I mentioned about the FinTech training program, and which is another program subsidized by the Hong Kong government, and they set aside I would say a budget, so that we run a program and to serve over 1,200 financial practitioners. They start to understand more and more about how FinTech can improve their daily operations, which is another very important initiative under the Cyberport. And last but not least, there's another program, what we call FAST, the FAST. Government has set aside a budget of 120 million, so that each FinTech company are able to recruit 1 new headcount under the scheme. This is another very important initiative by the government to support development of the FinTech ecosystem in Hong Kong. So to answer, after you know about all this exciting and also capabilities Cyberport offer, so how can you land in Cyberport? This is the key question. And if you go to our website, and you know that there are 2 options for you always. The first one is if you need financial support from Cyberport, we welcome you to apply for our incubation programs. And you can start with what we call the seed funding, which is 100,000. You can test your POC here, or you are more mature. You would like to start with a 2 years program called the incubation program. We give you $500,000 Hong Kong financial support without taking any equity. Throughout the entire 2 years to 5 years journey, I think the company will be able to benefit for the most up to 1 million Hong Kong dollars without taking any equity by Cyberport. This is our commitment to help the fintech company from overseas to come to Hong Kong. We have successful candidates coming from Australia, Singapore, China to benefit from these funding programs. So we're happy to continue to help you to apply for the program. And so the deadline for the upcoming one is 1st of April. Maybe a bit tight for you, but don't worry. And you can come to Cyberport and take a small desk or office as a kickstart and then engage with our team. And then you can start to plan your next application, which will be on August. So once you're admitted, and then we'll be here to serve you throughout your 2 years program. So I hope this is very clear for Professor and also for all the participants in this call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rico. I was surprised to hear that thousands of participants are in your program for just for FinTech.
Yes, and government are very generous and also supportive to drive the FinTech adoption. So understand that my banks are very busy on a day-to-day job. So they really want them to know more about the FinTech adoption. So they appointed Cyberport to run a 1-year FinTech training program for all the industry participants. I remember that the quota was supposed to be 1,000, but it was oversubscribed. We have received over than 1,700 applications. But at the end, with support coming from government, we're able to increase the quota to 1,200. So even though that the program was affected by the COVID, but we are still able to launch the program with a very good, I would say, feedback from the market.
Well, thank you very much, Rico. So I leave the last words to Deniz. Welcome, Deniz.
Hi, Selim. Thank you very much.
You are a very well-known figure in the Turkish FinTech ecosystem, and I can say that you are representative in Hong Kong, if you may allow me. So we all know that you have established a virtual bank in Hong Kong, which is very exciting for the whole community in Turkey. So let's start by talking about the virtual bank, how to establish, how to collaborate, how to pick up the resources.
Sure, Selim. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I've been listening in the last 35 minutes, and what I heard, to be honest, I heard a lot of good stuff about Hong Kong, from Cyberport, from Bernard, also HKMA, they have a lot of initiatives to push forward on FinTech side, plus help the FinTechs to become bigger companies in Hong Kong. I'm quite fascinating. Why? Because Hong Kong is a great place, and being in Hong Kong means covering Asia in a different way, because Hong Kong is the real hub financially, plus technologically it's becoming a hub in Asia. So Hong Kong it's located in north, but from Hong Kong you can reach many different places, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, China, and we mentioned in this session, so we have a GBA area, Greater Bay Area of Asia, which is a very important place for us. The population of GBA is 75 million, and we talk about one city there, Shenzhen. And when I look at outside from my windows, I can see I can see easily with my eyes Shenzhen, and they have more than 15 million. They have a 15 million population, 18 million population in Shenzhen. So imagine, these people, they are ready to consume a lot of different financial services, and they have a lot of pain points. And Hong Kong is a great place, to serve them from here, also there. What I did, long story short, I've been in Asia since 2017. Which means I'm finishing my fourth year in Asia. First I moved to Singapore, and then I came to Hong Kong. It has been a journey for me, and honestly, the first discussion we had with HKMA, it was 2017. I think it was October, and at that time, it was just an idea. And HKMA, Hong Kong Money Authority, they announced a very a progressive manifesto about smart banking. And as a part of that manifesto, a virtual banking license, was one of item there. I think out of 7 very important items. And we discussed a lot of things in Standard Chartered. I was part of Standard Chartered, covering more than 30 different markets at that time in Singapore. And we had couple of different discussions with the top management. And then we decided to build this bank from scratch. So you introduced me, Deniz, Deniz, you are very well known in fintech. It's a bit difficult, for me to say, I'm a fintech guy. I've been in banking in the last 21 years. Do I, what I do? Yes, maybe, it sounds like, fintech. And I collaborate, with a lot of fintechs and startups to build banks. So what I did actually, I built a bank, from scratch. And whenever, people, they ask me, for example, right now, I know that, Soner Janko is watching us. Whenever, we have a conversation with Soner, he always, tell me, Deniz, what are you doing? I'm not a banker. I'm not a technologist. I'm not a fintech guy. I do many of these things, but what I do, my main business is, I'm in the trust business. Yeah. Because banking and finance, I think, that's the most important thing is you have to be in trust business. And around that, you should build, technology, digital, all the other stuff, it's, you have to, build it, right? So we started in 2018 early, and I set up the company first as a separate company. It was not a bank. And we prepared the banking license application. It was such an interesting, process for me in my life. It took like, 3.5 months. And, we work with HKMA very closely. I think, I should say this is also important, one of the most important part of Hong Kong, that Hong Kong Money Authority, it's a very progressive, helpful regulatory body, because I work a lot of different regulatory bodies in my life in different markets, but they are always like open to discuss the new things. I think discussing a virtual bank with a lot of different elements around it in 2017, it was quite progressive, and they help us. And HKMA mentioned about this sandbox, right? We built the bank on the sandbox. So imagine that sandbox allow us to build a bank, not a small fintech, not a small startup. We built our bank, entire bank, on that sandbox. I think it was super important for us. We apply for the license. After the application, it took like almost 9 months to answer all the questions coming from the regulator. Plus, of course, there were a lot of different preparations. Meanwhile, a lot of investors they started to reach us to build this together. And what we did, we tried to find the right partners for our bank, because I always believe that if you are coming from scratch, you can't do it on your own. You should have some strong partners. So that's why we got 3 strong partners: PCCW, Hong Kong Telecom. So PCCW is one of the biggest company holding in Hong Kong, and plus Hong Kong Telecom is one of the biggest telco operator. And plus we got as a partner Trip.com. Trip.com, they are the second biggest after Booking.com in the world. So we got our JV partners, and JV partners they have been helping us not only on the capital side. We have never seen them like only capital injectors. We see them like a real service providers to us. Plus we create and we build services together. And also, of course, their distribution channels, physical or digital distribution channels, are super important for us to reach our customers. We built the technology from scratch. We don't use that many nothing actually from Standard Chartered mothership. our starting from our core banking to RegTech, from RegTech to treasury liquidity, from liquidity to credit systems. We built from scratch. We are entirely on cloud. We are one of the first cloud native bank in Asia. This is quite important. This is also showing the power of the regulations in Hong Kong, because they supported us on this idea. I know sometimes I see some banks even in Turkey that they believe that we are moving to cloud, we are doing a huge digital transformation. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You should go there in a different way. And that way, we started as cloud native. We don't have any servers, zero, and we run a bank on cloud. I think this is extremely important, and we had a lot of support from regulator. We launched our bank, Mox Bank. Actually, there are a lot of stories, but I know time is quite limited, so I don't want to go into all the details. But we launched the bank in September last year, so we just finished our 6 months in the market. We will announce this, but I can announce to the Turkish community, I guess, we almost reached 100,000 customers onboarded in Hong Kong.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 100,000 customers. I know in Turkey's population is 82 million, and Hong Kong's population is 7.4 million. When I say 100,000 customers in Hong Kong, which means we reach almost 1.8% of bankable population in Hong Kong. It's too early to say something, are we successful or not? But with our cards, so far, our customers, they spent million more than 115 million American dollars spending, and we have 750 million American dollars, as deposit, in our bank right now. Of course, there are a lot of different details. So Mox Bank, if you check, Mox Bank, from on App Store or Google Play, Mox Bank has 4.8 stars, with more than 9,000 reviews, not only 5 reviews, okay? And 4.8 stars, means for us, it's the heart share, that we wanted to get. And I think, we are getting, the right heart share, from this market with some market share. And that heart share, 4.8 stars, there's no bank or any financial institution in Hong Kong, you can see, with 4.8. So what we are doing, what we are trying to do, of course, Hong Kong is super important, and we have a laser focus to Hong Kong, and we see a lot of different opportunities. We will launch some new products starting from April, which I can't share right now, but I will share all these things publicly soon, and we will continue to bring new products and services to Hong Kong. As I said, GBA is a very important strategy for us. For Mox, also any fintech in Hong Kong, they have a huge chance to get new businesses from GBA area. So Mox is like this, but let me give my couple of cents about the Hong Kong market. First of all, Hong Kong market is a very strong market, financial market. However, we see a lot of points that Turkish entrepreneurs, startups and fintechs, they can come here and do a lot of businesses. The first one is technology providers. I'm talking about mainly software companies in different areas. I believe that there's a huge opportunity here for software companies in Hong Kong. I'm sure Invest Hong Kong they can explain much better than me, but setting up a company in Hong Kong, I think it's much easier than many other markets. They can set up a company very quickly in Hong Kong. They can establish their company, and they can reach out as you can see on this session, they can reach out all those gentlemen, and they can start to connect with the ecosystem here in Hong Kong. It is super easy and quite open, and also it's quite friendly. if you are coming, from outside, you can easily, reach out, to the companies that if you have a really, strong, business. The second thing is, of course, data analytics. These are the areas, and RegTech. I think, we need, more companies, in Hong Kong, to focus on these areas, and we need, more creative people to push forward, all these, data analytics, etc. I know that, there are strong companies in Turkey. I believe that, they can put, more presence, to Hong Kong. And for example, when we look at, the fintech and verticals, for example, wealth business, there's still a huge chance, on the wealth side. And I know that, there are some strong, fintechs that they may try, their propositions in different markets. Of course, Hong Kong has some, different dynamics. However, I believe that, the Turkish entrepreneurs, they can find, some opportunities here. Last but not the least, I know that, Turkish BDDK, Turkish MA, they just announced the virtual banking licenses that, they will start to give the virtual BB licenses at the end of digital banking licenses, at the end of, this year. I believe that, there's a huge opportunity, that, the Turkish entrepreneurs and ecosystem, they can learn from Hong Kong, but at the same time, it's a two-sided opportunity for both sides. And I believe that, also, there's a huge opportunity, for Hong Kong companies in Turkey as well, because these new virtual banking licenses, it will create a huge opportunity in terms of, human resources, technology, or, going there, as a service. You can be anything as a service, right? So anything as a service, I believe that, there are some opportunities there. So I think, these are the things, I can share, with the Turkish community. I believe that, there's a huge opportunity in Hong Kong, and, these gentlemen, in the session, they know much better than me, and they can, give their directions, to the companies in Turkey. However, if anyone in Turkey, if they need something, if they have an idea or, a service that they want to try in Hong Kong or, some other markets, actually MOX will be some other markets, soon as well in Asia. I'm happy to listen them, happy to help them, if they have, something, really tangible.
Perfect, Dennis, thank you. Since you know both sides, I mean, both Turkey and Hong Kong, since you were there for the last 4 years, since you know the regulatory perspectives of both sides and the ecosystem as well, so I think you're the right person to ask the tough question. What are the challenges for Turkish companies if they want to make an investment in Hong Kong, or let's look from a competitive perspective also?
I think the most important part is they should spend some time to understand the market needs, because sometimes I see some people not only from Turkish community, but I see some people from different ecosystems, for example from UK, and they have strong fintechs in London, and they believe that they can come to Hong Kong and they can just crack the market very quickly, which is not correct and which is not that possible. Hong Kong people, there are a lot of different pain points. It's not only about culture. It's also about the different needs. Mm-hmm. And you can be successful, in Europe. You can be successful in Turkey because it's a different banking system, and there are a lot of strong banks. And honestly, I should say that I work on the both side, and Turkish banks. I should say as a banker, and I think I can say. Turkish banks, in terms of using technology, in terms of customer programs, they are a bit stronger, not only than Hong Kong, even from Europe and a lot of US banks, I should say. Yeah. But on the other hand, if you want to come to Hong Kong, you should understand the local needs. You should understand what's going on here, and you should map out the real pain points, and then you should adapt your technology power to here, because it's not only about technology thing. Other than that, I don't believe that there are some huge. There's no great wall here that you can't reach out to this market. And it's super easy to launch a new service here if you have the right approach.
Okay, thank you. I have one last question for Mr. Wilson. For the regulator as well. So since regulations are very tough in every country, so Mr. Chiwai, could you please extend some knowledge for the Turkish entrepreneurs if they want to move their business in fintech to Hong Kong? Is it going to be a challenge for them?
Sure. Before I directly address your question, I just want to have a thanks to Denise. I heard a lot of good word about his comment and his view on the regulator, in particular for the Hong Kong MA. So I hope that's not because I'm here that the comment becomes so positive. So I actually agree that in Hong Kong we have a lot of different stakeholders in this ecosystem, but we have a lot of support as well from different pillars. Like we have the incubators from Cyberport, from Science Park. We have virtual banks that have incorporated since 2 years ago. We actually have everything set up to get fintech ready in Hong Kong to fly. The only thing that I can see it's not really on the regulator side. It's about the competition. It's going to be keen for the new joiners. So they have to get ready that the competition is going to be keen. But we are ready to be here to help you, no matter from an incubator point of view, from regulator point of view, or from a banking point of view. I think we are all here to support you.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, I have many notes, so it was a super excited panel for me as well. So I would like to thank you for being with us today. And I hope we extend these meetings with the Turkish community and give them some more insights. I'm sure Neşe will collect all the information from you if you like to give your contact information, so we can deliver them to our ecosystem to make a connection with you and also want to learn more deeper on the ecosystem. So right now I would like to thank you all again, and I would like to finish this session with your permission. So have a good day, both on the Hong Kong side and for the Turkish side. Thank you again.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.